President Trump turns up the heat on Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Yesterday, the president did not go as far as saying he'll fire the Attorney General. However, he voiced his disappointment again on Sessions' decision to recuse himself from the Russia election meddling probe and for his handling of intelligence leaks.
I want the Attorney General to be much tougher on the leaks from intelligence agencies, which are leaking like rarely have they ever leaked before at a very important level. These are intelligence agencies. We cannot have that happen. I told you before I'm very disappointed with the Attorney General, but we will see what happens. Time will tell. Time will tell.
Well, there are signs that Sessions is working to mend fences behind the scenes. Fox News has learned that Sessions is planning an announcement to step up efforts on several criminal investigations into the leaking of sensitive intelligence information. Joining us right now to talk more about it is former Whitewater independent counsel and federal prosecutor Robert Ray. Robert, it's great to see you again.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. So what do you think Sessions could do to stop the leaks?
Well, ultimately, it's about bringing prosecutions, but that's not such an easy thing to do as previous attempts to do this have shown. And, you know, in matters involving the First Amendment, it requires the assistance, whether compelled or otherwise, generally of the media in order to bring those cases. And so you start to talk about, you know, subpoenaing media sources to get them to voluntarily comply. They're likely to resist, often under penalty of contempt, which is not a very pretty picture. It's a tough thing to do, which is why leak investigations are problematic and why prosecution in that area is difficult. Not impossible, but it's messy.
What's your take on this whole thing? I mean, I actually think he should not have recused himself from the Russia stuff. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, but to call him out this way.
I tend to agree with that. I know the bipartisan consensus seems to be in the current environment that it was absolutely the correct decision. Look, the president's instincts are right. He understands that everything flowed from that decision. I mean, it's like a cascading series of events. You've got the Attorney General who early in the administration recuses, then you put the decision in the hands of the Deputy Attorney General. That leads ultimately to the firing of the FBI director.
And a special prosecutor.
And the appointment of a special counsel. Now, there were other things that happened along the way, and one of the problems about the recusal is it came at an unfortunate time. That testimony during the Judiciary Committee confirmation hearing was unfortunate about his failure to disclose prior contacts with Russians. But, you know, that aside, it wasn't particularly a serious matter, but the consequence of all of that and a recusal, which is, by the way, a big deal. You're saying that the Attorney General, with regard to that matter, is completely out of that loop. The president is also
really big deal.
The president's also right to say, hey, listen, you know, I'm entitled to have an attorney general who is unconflicted, in his words, I guess, unbeleaguered.
Fire him, rather than demean and belittle.
Well,
because the Journal has a long editorial about this today.
I read it this morning.
Right. And he says, and they're referring to President Trump, he is harming himself, alienating allies, and crossing dangerous legal and political lines. And when he was talking about Sessions isn't doing enough or taking a very weak position on Hillary Clinton crimes, they point out that that is the kind of political retribution that one expects from, say, Erdogan in Turkey.
Well, you have to call that out because prosecution cannot become politics by other means.
Right, and that's what
and
the Journal
people, you know, once you undermine the public's respect for the integrity of prosecutorial decisions that are supposed to be made on a nonpartisan basis. In other words, politics aside, you're supposed to make those decisions on the merits. Why? You know, we throw around things about criminal investigations and so forth in the media probably too casually. Prosecutors make decisions every day on a set of facts and whether or not someone is going to be put in jeopardy of prosecution resulting in imprisonment.
Yeah.
You know, you don't mess with that in the political process. It is not designed to incarcerate your political enemies.
Yeah, but the other thing is, what did the other cabinet members say when they hear the president calling out one of his key loyal, you know, people like Jeff Sessions? I mean, why is Rex Tillerson taking time off right now? Is he sending a message to the president? I don't know. I mean, they were very clear in the State Department yesterday that he is not resigning. Rex Tillerson is not resigning, but he's taking some time off.
Well, and the Attorney General is effectively saying the same thing, which seems to be the standoff at the moment. You can fire me, but I'm not leaving voluntarily. Now, look, the difference here is that the president, of course, flows all of this out publicly. This is not the first time that a president has been faced with a situation in which he's unhappy with his attorney general because investigations that are ongoing. I mean, the relationship between President Clinton and Janet Reno, frankly, was no different and possibly even worse during the Clinton administration. There were more than 5 independent counsel investigations against the administration.
I just made the point that Bill Clinton didn't call out Janet Reno in the same way, possibly because he's a Democrat and he would have been called a sexist pig if he had done that.
Well, listen, Loretta Lynch didn't recuse herself when it came to all those other things, but the problem with the Jeff Sessions situation...
Even though she had a meeting with Bill Clinton on the tarmac.
Exactly. Eric Holder never recused himself. Here's the issue that we're having. Listen, when the president says this about Jeff Sessions, it undermines his agenda, especially when it comes to border adjustment security. The Department of Justice is also trying to ramp up, rushing through judges to get them appointed for 25 different ones. So, I mean, that's the issue. So can you give us a take of what it's like for people that are working in the Justice Department, not knowing if their boss is going to be there? Does that impact morale? What about state attorney generals?
The Wall Street Journal, I think, the most important part of that editorial was really, you know, if it comes to it and the president decides to fire the attorney general, it's not going to just be the firing of the attorney general. There are going to be a bunch of other people in the Justice Department, as a matter of principle, who may resign with him, and that's a more troubling thing. I mean, when that's putting the government in a bit of chaos and anarchy, and it takes away from the president's entire agenda, it distracts from other things, and it raises the question about who could be confirmed in that environment.
So then he's without an AG for a period of time, which is ridiculous.
And the country really can't suffer through that, in my view.
But this was designed, I think, not for Trump to fire him, but wasn't this humiliation designed for him to resign?
It was intended, I think, to induce him to resign. But, you know, history has shown good luck with that. That doesn't, you know, that's the pushback in a constitutional system. He's been appointed. He's been confirmed by the United States Senator. He was a former United States Senator. He's not going voluntarily.
As much as he likes saying, you're fired, this is the one moment he won't say
This is the one time, once you receive Senate confirmation, the Congress is vested in him, and he doesn't have to resign if he doesn't want to.